guys, this is Allie Edwards, and I just want to give you a look at my process for putting together my documentation for Day in the Life. Now, this time I'm doing it within Project Life. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it that way the entire year, or if sometimes I'll do it in a mini book. I know people are doing it in lots of different ways. So some people are doing it in a 6x8 album over the course of the year, because I'm going to do it I think 4 times this year, so every 3 months, 3 or 4 times, I can't remember exactly. But it's a project that I love to do. It's a great way to take a closer look at your life, to look at your routines, in a one-day kind of thing. So for me, Project Life is kind of my main project that I'm really trying to keep up with and work on this year. So it makes sense for me to go ahead and add it in there. Now, what you see on my table right now, I've printed out a couple pictures. I've used the layered template, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then I have the 3x4 and 4x6 cards and the rolling timestamp that were included in the Day in the Life kit, plus these little chipboard circles, which were also in that kit. I also have some 6x12 and 6x8 divided page protectors that these are going to act as the insert into my Project Life spread. So the rest of the spread, you know, will have the regular stuff of my week, and I'll share that with you a little bit later here in this video as well. My initial plan, and you know, there's not a right or wrong way. There's a million different ways that you could do this. But my initial plan was to use, or is, to use the 6x12 layered template. And I posted a tutorial on how to use that as well. And I'll make sure I link it in this post also. And this is gonna be a front and a back. And so this is basically starts in the morning, and it has photos that go throughout the day until the evening. These spaces on this template were designed to fit specifically with the timestamp. So when you timestamp directly on here, I'll be doing that using StazOn ink. It's gonna fit right in that space. Now you can see here, this is a giant piece of paper. This is a 13 by 19, I think that's what it is, 13 by 19 sheet of paper that I just printed out here at home using an Epson printer. And what I do is I just use this size and then I cut it down. I actually could have printed both of these on the same one because it's 13 wide and these are 6 inches wide. But I did it at 2 different times, and I wanted to make sure that it was gonna work first. And I usually just cut it down like this first, and then I go in and use my trimmer to trim off the rest of it. You can also put 2 6x12s on one 12x12, right? 6 plus 6 equals 12. You could put both of these on one 12x12 canvas and upload them to your favorite printer, whoever you print at, locally or online. Those kinds of things are available as well. In the video tutorial, I show you how to put your photos or use the layered template in Photoshop using the masking tool to place your photos in there. This is a super easy way to get a ton of photos into, you know, onto one document. So that's what you're seeing here. There are a few different options in that layered template package. Some that have the time is in a different place, some that have less space for photos. So if you have fewer photos, you could make a different choice, and some that have more space for writing. This time I'm focusing more on time, kind of just the times of day, and less, I'm doing a little bit less writing on this one, and that's just a personal choice. I do a lot of writing regularly, so sometimes I, you know, change my mind, or sometimes I focus on something different, and that's mainly because I'm already writing a lot fairly regularly, and so sometimes I just give myself a break or make different choices along the way. So this is going to be the front of it, I'm pretty sure, and as I was putting the photos into this template over here, I picked out a few that I decided to print, you know, at the regular size, so 4x6, and I put a white border around them just to differentiate them a little bit. And then I'm actually using a white border throughout the whole week on all my pictures, and you'll see that later on as well. So what I'm doing right now is kind of deciding what other pictures do I want to use, and what other cards from the kit do I want to use? This is the back of that other card. I'm pretty much thinking that I want to use this one that says is the observations one, so that I can just really kind of document less about the details and more about my overall kind of feeling about where life is right now for me and for my family and my kids and that kind of thing. I'm considering using that. I also considered using this card that has the times on it to give a little bit more detail about each one of these things over here, kind of an overview of the day. And I may still end up using that as well. Right now I pulled out this 6x8 that I was kind of thinking would go in the middle of these two. So like this one will go in this page protector here. I guess I had a second one of those. This will be the back once I cut it down. Like this, and then this one will be in the middle. But I'm kind of thinking of pulling out a different one that might have 2 3x4s on the top and then the 4x6 on the bottom, so that I could use this to still put in the other pieces. I'm pretty sure that I want to use this one here, another just hello today card. And then I haven't decided which ones of these other cards that I may use here as well, or I may add an additional photo. I got most of my photos in by using this template, so the majority of them were included in that way. And then I'll just be using these as accents. I may do the hard stuff, easy stuff too. So that's kind of where I'm at right now, just as an overview, and then I'll share a little bit more as I go along, kind of as I make some of these additional decisions as well. So the first thing that I did in the process after I had printed all of this out was use the rolling timestamp that was part of the kit to add the times directly onto those printed out 6x12 pages. Now I'm using StazOn, black StazOn ink, and I had most of the times written in my Instagram posts. This is the first time that I really used Instagram a lot throughout the day. Usually I've posted like 1 or 2 pictures during the day, but this time I used it for pretty much all of my pictures during the day, and that made it really easy when the time came to actually complete the documentation or the content portion, instead of having to look, or try to reimagine, which I haven't always done in the past anyway, because a lot of times I've used the daily sheets for filling in the time. But being able to just go on Instagram and see the picture, the journaling was already there, the time was already there, that made it super easy for this part of the process of stamping on the times. Like I mentioned yesterday in the layered template tutorial, these templates were actually designed specifically with this rolling stamp in mind, rolling time stamp in mind, so that it's sized just right to be able to hold those numbers there. I really like how this turned out, and I think that it's such a fun way to document something by having it be focused on the time. It's a little bit something different than what I've done before, where I might have had maybe a time or, maybe a few times, but actually having that be the focus, I think was a fun way to do the documentation this time. And I don't know if next time my focus will be as much on that. Might be, it might not. And it might be focused on that, but in a different way. So I'm always I like the option of flexibility and being able to play around with different ideas there. So after I did that, then I went ahead and added a couple of the chipboard circles. I knew I just wanted to add a few, and I'm adding them right onto the center of the seam where the photos meet on those layered templates. So once I was done with that, I was able to just slip that into the 6x12 page protector and move on to the next part. And if from any of you that have followed along with any of my process videos before know that a lot of times I change my mind along the way. It's just part of the process. So I may have said something in the beginning and I may not follow through with it on the end, but excuse me.
I definitely wanted to use some of those chipboard circles. And so I decided that this was kind of the first photo of each of them of the day, you know, a photo of Anna, a photo of Simon in the morning. And I liked starting out the insert with those pictures of them. And by just adding a couple of circles onto those photos, that felt like a good way to kind of introduce the story of the day. Then on the back, I had 2 more 4x6 photos, and so I used 2 more chipboard circles added on there. With these ones, I decided to also stamp the time on there, and then I did hand write a little bit with one of my Slick Writer pens underneath there. So still essentially centered in the middle of the page. And you'll see that when I stamped that one right there, I stamped it on top of the chipboard piece that was on the other side. So it wasn't a perfect stamp, but I didn't care. I didn't want to take the time to reprint the whole photo again. You could tell what it was that I had on there. So, and then same thing below for that photo, readjusting to the correct time, stamping it on there, and then adding the chipboard piece directly above it in the center. I really like putting embellishments and accents in the center of photos. It's something that I've done often in project life when I have the chance, and even, you know, being able to, looking for the opportunities to take pictures where I can do that as well. Along the outside of each of these pages, or the insert pages, I used an Avery Index tab, and that is a product that I use pretty regularly in project life for any kind of insert. And so you can see there I just stamped the word today, and I'll link the link to that product in the supply list below that stamp. Again, I'm just using StazOn throughout the whole thing, but I did, excuse me, not today, but Tuesday was what I stamped there, which was for the day of the week, and then the date on the other side. And then I used some of my other stamps to stamp things on the front and back of the other ones. That one says, "This story matters," and that was from a story set. Right there, I'm looking at my photo stamp set, but I think I decided something else.
Okay, so I want to wrap this up with an overview of how I ended up tackling this story. Like I've said previously, I've done this lots of different ways before. Sometimes it includes a lot more words, sometimes it includes a lot bigger photos. It's fun to do it different ways, and that's part of what I'm wanting to communicate with all of this time as well. So here is a look at the 3 different pages that I have. You saw that I adhered chipboard pieces on there. I stamped the date right there. I also stamped Tuesday, which is from this set. And I'll make sure to link all these below too. I think it's the Days of the Week R4. I can't remember what the actual name of this one is, but that's what I used to stamp that one. And then when you turn it over in the album, and I'll pull the album over here in a second just so you can see as well. Here is the inside. Remember, this is a page in and of itself too. Oh, I need to finish that one more thing there. I just added in a couple of the photos that I wanted to that didn't fit with this particular with that template. And so one of them was with the cats, and so I just used the chipboard pieces with the time, and then I wrote a little bit on there, and that's just using one of these pens that I have in my shop. That's the let's see, it's the medium pen, and I'll link to that as well. And then what I decided to do was take the journaling. This journaling came directly from the post that I shared on Instagram that I copied onto my blog post, that I then copied onto 2 4x6 pieces of paper, 4x6 canvases, and then I created a circle space in the middle where I could use the two of the chipboard pieces. There's a 1, 2, and a 3, but because I just had 2, I went ahead and did 2. I loved that as a solution for how I wanted to tackle the basic journaling. And I liked the fact that I just took what I documented during the day. I didn't try to remember extra stuff. I just took what I did, and that's part of the reason why I encourage people to really document during the day. Like, write it then how you want it to be later on, so that you don't have to try to reinvent the wheel when it comes time to writing out your story. My nap picture with the little Yoda, a real life chipboard. Then on here, as you can see, just a picture out in the yard. The hello today. This is thankful. That's from my thanks stamp set. I think, let's see, I'll pull that one out here too if I have it. Right here. Yeah, I think it's one called that one's actually from one called Gratitude. that stamp. And then on the back, I stamped The Story Matters, which is from a story stamp set that may be sold out right now because it was part of a Week in the Life set. I forgot to put something on there also, so I need to do that. Down here, what I ended up doing was I took this card, which had all the times throughout the course of the day, and I just wrote down something I was thankful for at each time. And I didn't do this during the day itself, or, obviously during the day itself, but I looked at the photos and I could see the flow of the day, and I just wrote down things that I know that I'm thankful for. Like thankful for a hug from Anna when I dropped her off, or thankful for conversations with Simon on the way to school, that kind of thing. All right, so I was able to put a picture on here, and I just kind of picked one that was an important one to me. And really, of all the stories today, one of the ones I loved the most was the story of Simon, Anna asking Simon and Simon agreeing to teach her a little bit about the kind of video games that he likes to play. It was just a really sweet moment, and it's the kind of things that I want to capture, because a lot of times we focus on the negative things, or I'm focusing on the individual things, and this kind of picture reminded me again of just how important the relationship stories are to me, and those are the things that I really do want to seek out. And then also the last picture here was just the one of Sam telling me it was time to be done for the day. And then you saw this part, or you heard me talk about this part already, the layer templates, the 6x12, both sides there. With this side, the stamp is from a One Little Word 2015 stamp set, One Day at a Time. And this one says, So Love Life With You, and that's from this Love stamp set. So I wanted to show you just briefly kind of where I'm at with the actual week itself. I haven't finished this week yet, but I will obviously post it when I'm done. One of the things that I'm doing here, so this is going to fit in with this, and I'm doing it at the same time that I'm doing the insert, because I do want it to kind of all flow together, of the story of a week with a focus on one day. So couple of things that I did, I'm just using pieces from the kit. I may use a couple other things mixed in, but some of the extra cards you'll see here. I did do all the photos with the white borders. That adds a level of consistency. And then also just the repetition of the chipboard circles. I haven't brought any over here yet. Actually, this day is kind of still happening, but you get the idea of what I mean. These are the holes that I need to fill in. But I'm pretty satisfied with putting the story of one day in my life in here in this way. It doesn't feel overwhelming. It doesn't take over everything. I love seeing the times lined out there. Like, that was something that was super fun to have that actually come to fruition as a product, as well as just seeing it here on the template. So pretty happy with how that turned out. I will go ahead now. I'm going to go ahead and finish up the rest of the week, and then I'll share that probably in a separate post for the week, but I'll share the images related to my day itself in the blog post. So hope this is helpful for you guys. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them below.